It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and we have come to the week before Christmas, December 21st, 1990. And we find ourselves in a bit of a predicament here, because if you've been watching this show long enough, you know that I go to Box Office Mojo to get the rankings in order of the movies that come out this week, or talk about the highest grossing movie first, and then so on and so forth, all the way to the lowest grossing film. However, if you go to Box Office Mojo and you see the weekend of December 21st, you only see one movie there, and that is Kindergarten Cop, which was a big hit, but it was still not the number one movie in the country because Home Alone was still the top-grossing film during the holiday season, rightfully so. Yes, you could obviously tell why, but, so yeah, and then I went to the next week, and then it was just the same thing, Kindergarten Cop. It didn't really change back into the normal ranking of the top 10 that they had until we got into the new year, 91, and we're only a couple weeks away from doing that on this show, is in terms of these episodes. We've only got, after this one, there'll only be one left, so we're going to do something a little bit different here. I am going to go to Wikipedia and do the 7 movies that came out this weekend, ranging from Wednesday, December 19th to December 21st, Friday. And we're just going to look at those movies there. This is unusual because I usually do the top-grossing film first, but we're going to do it this way. So I'm going to get to Kindergarten Cop in a little bit, but first let's get to the first movie on this list, and that is Paul Hogan's follow-up to the Crocodile Dundee series, and that is Almost an Angel.
Terry Dean is a thief who's temporarily down and out. When a sudden collision causes a major concussion.
You wanted the truth, I'm giving it to you. I'm an angel, I'm an angel, I'm an angel.
That leads to a hasty conclusion.
I'm an angel.
Darn angel.
They're the ones that come back to Earth to do good deeds and stuff. I'm bulletproof, but I can't fly yet.
If you'd given me the wings, it made the job a lot easier.
I saw him reading the Bible earlier. An axe murderer can read.
Are your folks very religious, Terry?
Only time I went to church as a kid was to knock off the poor box.
You have family living in L.A., Mr. Dean?
No, I killed them with an axe.
Social workers, right?
Yeah. And what's it to you? Popeye?
Very important when you throw the left hook. You keep that elbow up high. Because if you miss with the glove, you still take them out with the elbow. Now, I never, ever want to see any of you guys doing any of this dirty stuff. I don't wear funny robes or carry signs. I'm not a religious nut. I just help people, like you do.
Do as I say, no one gets hurt. I'll have 200 turner on a roll to go.
Paper plastic.
The Bonfire Burger Man cruised the downtown area last night, distributing samples of his products to the homeless. He's medium built and looks like this.
Paul Hogan is almost an angel.
Aerobics. Sound like Jay Fonda.
The guy from down under is now working for the man upstairs.
I guess you've been asked this question a million times, but is Elvis with you?
Almost an angel.
Yeah, this was definitely one of those things where Crocodile Dundee was a once-in-a-generational thing. It was a big hit back in '86. The sequel was a success as well. But unfortunately, Paul Hogan never really had that big success like Crocodile Dundee. He never was able to capitalize on that, which is a shame because he's not a bad actor. He can actually be a very funny comedic actor, and I could definitely see where they were going with this movie, but overall, I think they really missed the mark here because I think they made this character that Hogan plays a little too much like Crocodile Dundee, and he's supposed to be this bad guy, but he never really shows it in this movie. Like he robs banks and he says that he kills people, but we never really get to see it in this movie. And I think because it plays it a little bit too safe for its own good, and I think that's really one of the reasons why it doesn't really work that well. And I don't know, like, you ever heard the saying, never work with your spouse? And I don't know if working with his wife, Linda Kozlowski, again, really worked out this time around. It worked in the first 2 movies, but not really here. The first 2 Crocodile Dundee movies, I should say, but yeah, unfortunately this movie didn't really work out all that well. It was a huge failure financially and critically. Paul Hogan would keep trying to make some successes over the 90s, but he would never really have that big success after Crocodile Dundee after this, which again is a shame because I think he could have been a really good comedic actor that would have been able to make more hit movies if he picked the right scripts or something or what. But I just didn't see it in this movie, unfortunately. It has a good idea to it, but just a wrong execution, honestly. So that's my thoughts on Almost an Angel, a movie that really missed the point altogether, I think, really, in the end. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Mel Gibson and Franco Zeffirelli's Hamlet.
From Franco Zeffirelli, the acclaimed director of Romeo and Juliet, Mel Gibson, Glenn Close, Alan Bates, Paul Scofield, Ian Holm, Helena Bonham Carter in Hamlet, the story of a king's death, a ghost's revelation,
My uncle.
a brother's ambition, a queen's passion.
Have you forgot me?
No, by the rule, not so. You are the queen, your husband's brother's wife, and would it were not so, you are my mother.
A father's suspicion, a daughter's honor.
What should such fellows as I do, crawling between earth and heaven, believe? None of us.
A son's revenge.
Now could I drink hot blood.
Now, a man must choose whether to forgive or to avenge, to love, to hate, to live, to die, to be or not to be. Hamlet, the extraordinary telling of a classic tale.
Surprisingly, one of 3 different Hamlet movies we would get over the next 10 years, because, yeah, this movie, then you had the Kenneth Branagh version, which obviously is a lot better movie, I would say, but we'll get to that one in a little bit, and we'll delve even more into it when we get to 96, and then we had the 2001, which was a modern-day version with Ethan Hawke in it, I believe. But, you could see that this is one of those movies where I think the style looked a lot better over the actual substance. Like, the literal definition of style over substance is definitely in this movie. The visual look of the movie is very impressive. The actors clearly are trying. They have a really good cast involved in this. As I mentioned, Gibson, Glenn Close, Paul Scofield, Ian Holm, Helena Bonham Carter, Pete Postlethwaite's in this, Alan Bates, and I don't know. I mean, it follows the plot of the original play almost to a T. They do omit some lines of dialogue and some minor characters just so they could fit the runtime. I think that was maybe the biggest problem with it, because they didn't do like a big, huge, epic scale movie like what Kenneth Branagh would do. Because Kenneth Branagh, I think, like I said, did this a lot better. Even with this huge cast that he has involved in that movie, he managed to make it work because he didn't care about making a marketable movie, a safe and marketable film, like I think this movie does. He wasn't afraid to make a long movie, and that's a long movie. I think it's over 300 minutes long, but I could be exaggerating on that, but it was a long movie. It was at least 3 hours, but like I said, it worked a lot better there than it does in this movie, which this movie, it's not bad, it's just, it could have been a whole lot better. I think this movie was one of those attempts where Mel Gibson was trying to win an Oscar, and he would have a couple of these before he had the success with Braveheart in the middle of the decade. But yeah, this Hamlet is okay. It's not a great movie overall. It's definitely one I probably wouldn't watch over and over again, which is a shame because you could definitely see the production value on the screen. And when Franco Zeffirelli makes a movie based off of Shakespeare's work, it worked well with Romeo and Juliet, so you think it would be able to work the same way here, but not quite. So, Hamlet, okay, but I probably will never watch it again. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is, it is what I think it is. So, we have Sean Connery and Michelle Pfeiffer in The Russia House.
payloads, aim points, rate of burn.
It's everything we ever wanted to know about the Russians. Sounds like the pot of gold.
God. Addressed to boozy Barley Blair.
Barley Blair took a chance because he had nothing left to lose.
I'm offering you a fresh start.
It's voice activated, sir.
You're a fool to use me. I let people down.
Katya Orlova took a chance because she had everything to gain.
If you love peace, take this to England to Mr. Scott Blair.
It is better that you smile.
How did you recognize me, Mr. Barley?
Well, Mickey said you were Russia's answer to the Venus de Milo.
Together, they took the most dangerous chance of all.
It's me.
Do I disturb you?
Deeply.
They fell in love.
Barley's made contact.
Are you a spy?
Answer.
We are going with your man.
What is the matter? Are you afraid?
If it's not safe for me, then it's not safe for you.
Why is he driving?
Get rid of him, Clive.
I am motivated by my love for Katya Orlova.
No.
What are you doing?
Shh, don't! What did he say?
He was telling me we are dead.
I love you. I won't let you down.
John le Carré's The Russia House.
You know, honestly, this movie doesn't really get talked about all that much. And honestly, it's a shame because it's actually a pretty damn good movie. One of the things that's notable about this movie is that it was only the second movie made in America to be filmed on location in the Soviet Union. And it would be the last one before the dissolution of the Soviet Union in '91, the year after this. But as far as the movie goes, it's actually a much better, smarter political thriller than I think a lot of people would have given it credit for. I can remember shows like, I can't remember if it was Saturday Night Live or Mad TV. They did like a parody of this. And it was basically a parody of this movie because I guess maybe they think that Sean Connery and Michelle Pfeiffer working together doesn't really work out well age-wise. I mean, I don't know. I've seen much different I've seen bigger age gaps compared to this that actually worked. That actually didn't work as well. But I don't know. Their chemistry here works pretty well, and you also got a great supporting cast here: Roy Scheider, James Fox, John Mahoney, Klaus Maria Brauner, Ken Russell, the director. And it's got a good script by Tom Stoppard. Fred Gillespie, overall, is a pretty good director, and I like that he's been able to do other movies outside of just one particular genre. This is the guy that also did comedies like Roxanne, IQ, Mr. Baseball, It Runs in the Family, and he could do movies like these as well, these dramatic movies, and it does work pretty well. It's a really good, underrated movie, I think. It's one that I think a lot of people definitely should check out if you want to see one of Sean Connery's more underrated performances, and you know, Michelle Pfeiffer was just hitting bullseye after bullseye at this point. So, yeah, this movie's actually pretty good. I highly recommend checking out The Russia House if you can. So, I say if you can, but you can find it somewhere either on DVD, Blu-ray, video, or online. I'm sure you're able to find it. I'm sure you're able to find most of these movies here. So, that's The Russia House. Let me go to the next movie here. That's the thing I hate about doing this with the Wikipedia page, because I have to always go back to see what the next movie is on the list here, so. But anyway, let's get to that next movie, and that is another star-studded movie. Tom Hanks, Bruce Willis, and Melanie Griffith in The Bonfire of the Vanities from director Brian De Palma.
Okay. Here we go. My name is Peter Fallow, the man of the moment, the toast of the town. But it wasn't always this way. Let me tell you how it all began. In the 80s, making money and living well was all that mattered. And no one did it better than Sherman McCoy. Now he was a master of the universe.
Calm?
Sorry.
Collated? Let's not lose our composure over a few $100 million.
No one could resist him. Not his mistress.
This could be the best sex we've had in a long time.
Not even his dog.
It's raining and he's not happy about it, Mr. McCoy.
Here am I, Bill.
I, on the other hand, was a reporter in need of a story.
This is Peter Fallow, the has-been.
Oh, Shantae.
In need of a spark. Which is exactly what I got.
It's a body.
It looks like...
It's an animal.
No, I think
it's dead.
It's a tire.
The dead tire?
I turned that spark into a flame.
Hello, Peter. I
think there's a hell of a story.
We're investigating an automobile accident.
Yeah, on television. Last night, my wife, we said, well, we have a... Good Lord, we have a Mercedes in the...
Mr. McCoy, is there something you want to tell us?
And the flames spread. Did you say Henry Lamb was an honor student?
Good doesn't really apply at Brooklyn High. They're either cooperative or life-threatening.
Nothing is going to come of that little newspaper article.
I got him! Miss McCoy!
Absolutely nothing.
I'm going to jail. And suddenly, I was the guy who had everything. Hey, opportunity knocks. Someone's got to answer the door.
I want to see the truth come out and burn every one of them, and there's only one way to do that.
What's that?
Lie.
Boy, talk about a movie that has one of those interesting production histories that are worthy of a documentary down the road. But, man, with a movie that has a cast this good, and, you know, we talk about Tom Hanks, Bruce Willis, and Melanie Griffith. You saw Morgan Freeman in the trailer. You also see people like Kim Cattrall, Saul Rubinek, George Clinton has a cameo here. Geraldo Rivera has a cameo here. Rita Wilson has a small role in this movie. Kurt Fuller is in this. A young Kirsten Dunst. F. Murray Abraham. And then you look at the production history that followed after this. De Palma actually wanted to do this with Jack Nicholson and John Cleese either playing Peter Fallow, but the studio forced him to cast Bruce Willis because he had just come off of Die Hard. And then when the project was first pitched, Mike Nichols was the original director, and he wanted Steve Martin for the role of Sherman McCoy. And they thought Martin was too old for the role. They then went to Tom Wolfe wanted Chevy Chase for McCoy, and then they went to Kevin Costner, Tom Cruise, Christopher Reeve. Walter Matthau was going to be the judge in this. He demanded a fee of $1 million, and they didn't even want that. So they got Alan Arkin to do it, and then Alan Arkin dropped out, and then they had to get Morgan Freeman to do it. And they also wanted Edward James Olmos. As I mentioned, F. Murray Abraham's in this, but he's not credited here. There was a contract dispute because he wanted billing above the title. And, I mean, you kind of figure maybe he has a point because he did win an Oscar for Amadeus. And then they wanted Uma Thurman to play the Maria Ruskin, who Melanie Griffith plays in the movie. But Tom Hanks felt that she wasn't right for the role, so they went to Melanie Griffith. But they have all these controversies and behind-the-scenes problems here that really would have helped the documentary. But, yeah, like, the movie itself really is a mess. Like, if you've ever read Tom Wolfe's Bonfire of the Vanities, this is nothing like that. It's kind of like they saw War of the Roses the year before. They saw how big of a success that was, and they said, we want to make a movie that's like this, and we want to get the biggest stars that we have out there. So grab Tom Hanks, grab Bruce Willis, grab Melanie Griffith, put them together in this. It's going to work out well. And sadly, it did not. It crashed and burned at the box office, was destroyed critically, and you can kind of see why. And I'm actually surprised that nobody has even tried to do this story again nowadays, which I think we are close to seeing that eventually happening because, as we know, everything can be made into a movie nowadays. So who knows? We might see that happen someday. But as far as this movie goes, this isn't a very good movie. This is not a really good adaptation of the book. This doesn't even feel like the book itself. It feels like their attempts to, like I said, try to create a dark black comedy in the same vein as War of the Roses, but it failed miserably. And yeah, and for Bruce Willis, it was one of the 2 consecutive bombs he would have in the next year or so because he had another movie with Hudson Hawk coming that same time. So we'll get to that one when we get into 91. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is a much better movie than Bonfire of the Vanities, I would say. It's Kiki's Delivery Service.
Come along on a ride you'll never forget with an all-new feature-length movie adventure.
Go!
Coming to video for the very first time.
Hold on!
Kiki's Delivery Service. It's a journey of friendship and courage. With Kiki, a witch in training who's just getting the hang of flying.
Hold on there, son!
It's the story of Kiki's quest for independence and all her extraordinary adventures. Featuring Kirsten Dunst as Kiki and Matthew Lawrence as Tombo. Kiki's Delivery Service.
So as you can probably tell there, that's actually the trailer for the Disney dub of this version, which has Kirsten Dunst, Phil Hartman as the cat, Tress MacNeille, Janine Garofalo, Matthew Lawrence, Debbie Reynolds, Edie McClure, and actually Streamline Pictures, who also did the dub for Akira, which came out the year before. They did a version in 1990, but Kiki is. But no matter which version you've seen of Kiki's Delivery Service, the movie itself is overall pretty good. It's really what you'd expect from Hayao Miyazaki. This is definitely right up his alley. It's a fun story. It has some great characters all around, some really good animation all around, and it is just a fun adventure movie. I think a lot of people who like Miyazaki's work can definitely look at this and see this as one of his more enjoyable films. It's definitely not one of his best films overall, but it's still a ton of fun all around. And yeah, what more can I say? Kiki's Delivery Service, it's a wonderful, wonderful film. So let's go ahead and move on to the top grossing film of the week, and that was Arnold Schwarzenegger in Kindergarten Cop.
Now, more than ever, to be a teacher requires patience, kindness, and understanding. Fortunately, Astoria Elementary has just hired such an individual. Arnold Schwarzenegger is Kindergarten Cop.
Kindergarten is like the ocean. You don't want to turn your back on it.
Don't worry, everything is under control.
He's an undercover detective.
I assume you have some teaching experience.
They wouldn't have sent me otherwise.
Assigned to find a mother and son.
Did Danny ever say what Crisp's wife looked like?
Before a killer does.
First, I would like to just get to know you.
A male kindergarten teacher. It's unusual.
He's been trained to shoot.
What made you become a kindergarten teacher?
He's been trained to fight. But there are some things.
You mean eat other people's lunches? Stop it!
He's never been trained to handle.
They're walking all over me.
Listen, Kimball, you gotta handle this like any other police situation.
You're going to be my deputy trainees. You're not gonna have your mommy son behind you anymore and wipe your little douches. You are mine now.
I'm not a policeman, I'm princess.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
You hit the kid, I hit you.
Wow.
In an Ivan Reitman film.
Are you married, Mr. Kimball?
No, I'm not.
He's not married, Mom!
Welcome to Astoria, the single-parent capital of America.
You got a little mustache.
Must be from the milk.
Kindergarten Cop.
The ending of that trailer right there perfectly shows you why this movie works as well as it does. Arnold Schwarzenegger looked at this and said, you know what, I want to have some fun with this role. I'm going to do, even if I look silly, like in something like that. And it just works. It just works really well with the movie itself. And it's a perfect match. Like, Ivan Reitman really can make Arnold Schwarzenegger very funny, because he can give him the right material to work with for the most part. I mean, the next collaboration they did, Junior, was not as well received, and there's a number of reasons why that is. But yeah, Kindergarten Cop is pretty damn good. Like, it's a really, really great movie. I really love this movie. I used to watch it as a kid. I still love it even today. I still think it's very funny. It shows off a lot of Arnold Schwarzenegger's comedic potential when he's given a good script to work with. Which is interesting, because when you look at the people that they wanted to go with, Bill Murray and Patrick Swayze were considered for the roles of Detective Kimball. They even wanted Danny DeVito, but they nixed that idea because of, of course, the actor's height. And, I mean, really, Arnold Schwarzenegger's the guy that could easily make this work. I mean, I don't think, like, I don't know, I don't think somebody like Sylvester Stallone or Dolph Lundgren or even Bruce Willis at the time could probably make this work, but you have a guy like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he looks at this, he knows what to do to get a good laugh. He's worked with Ivan Reitman before. The matching just works too well here, and the movie just ends up being a really fun and enjoyable adventure. It's a really fun comedic action adventure in a way. I say that as a like comedic action comedy is what I want to say, but you also have a really good cast involved here too. Penelope Ann Miller's in this, Pamela Reed, Linda Hunt, Carol Baker, Kathy Moriarty, Park Overall, Heidi Sweetberg, Angela Bassett's in this, a young Odette Yusman from Cloverfield's in this. Actually, Elijah Wood unsuccessfully auditioned for a role in this movie, even though he was in Back to the Future Part 2 for a little bit, and he also was in a couple of commercials back then. But, yeah, overall, the movie is very good. It's a great, fun movie. It's one of Ivan Reitman's best movies. I love it so much. I think a lot of people enjoy it, too. It's silly. It's funny. It's just Kindergarten Cop. It's a great, great comedy all around. I love it. So let's go ahead and move on to the last movie, and that is Sissy Spacek and Whoopi Goldberg in The Long Walk Home.
She's the proper Southern housewife. She's the perfect family housekeeper.
Thank you, Willis.
Two women who live by the conventions of their time. But something is about to happen that will change the lives of these two women forever.
That bus is as empty as my grave.
If you won't ride the bus, Mr. Thompson doesn't see why I should have to suffer.
I asked you to suffer, Miss Thompson.
I don't want no trouble.
Hit him! No! You tried to ride the bus, and that's why his face looks like that. What's wrong with you?
If you give in, what do you think is going to happen to this city?
These are the people that you said couldn't count to 10. You're going to go to one of their meetings?
I'll make up my own mind now. Join any damn group I please.
Get away from my car.
No, you get away from your car.
I'm a little scared.
What's scaring you, Miss Thompson? Who you are, who Mr. Thompson wants you to be.
Here I am trying to hold my head up as a white man in this town, and you're caught in a nigger maid.
At a time in America when everyone did what was expected, two women had the courage to do what was right.
When it's all said and done, people are going to look at you, Miss Thompson, and they're going to say that you were part of this.
Sissy Spacek, Whoopi Goldberg, The Long Walk Home.
Definitely another very underrated movie. You got a lot of good people in this movie. Sissy Spacek, Whoopi Goldberg, Dwight Schultz from the A-Team, Ving Rhames, Dylan Baker. You also have Jason Weaver from the Wonder Years, Dan Butler, who you will later see in Frasier, Shyler Fisk, who we will later see in films such as Snow Day and Orange County, is what I meant to say. A really good cast all around here. And the movie itself overall is pretty well done. It works mostly because of the performances. The story in and of itself is just kind of, it's very generic. It's very formulaic, and they do kind of go with the white savior storyline where you have the leading white person getting help from the black person in the movie. But I guess in this movie, it does work because these performances really do stand out. The actors are really trying their best here. It's nothing really new we haven't seen done before, and I mean, yeah, for the most part, it is what you think it is when you see a movie of this type. But like I said, the performances really do carry it over. There is an interesting story here to be told here. And its message is very good. It's a very good message they try to present in this movie. It doesn't feel forced. There's no moments where it feels a little too overdramatic or somebody's pulling for an Oscar nomination. But, yeah, it's an overall enjoyable movie. It's not one I'd watch over and over again, but it's a movie that overall I think is a lot better than most people would ever think it would be, mostly because of the performances. I think the performances in this really do stand out more than the actual story itself here. So if you want to see something like, if you want to see Whoopi Goldberg in one of her more underrated roles, also with Sissy Spacek, I'd say definitely check out The Long Walk Home. So with that said, that's going to wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next time around, we wrap up 1990 with 4 more movies, including Come See the Paradise from Alan Parker, starring Dennis Quaid. We also have Woody Allen's latest film, Alice, with Mia Farrow, Joe Mantegna, and William Hurt. Green Card with Gerard Depardieu and Andy McDowell. And the biggest new release of the week, and that was The Godfather Part 3, the third installment of the Godfather series from Francis Ford Coppola. We'll look at those 4 movies, and then after that, we'll look at the 90s leftovers, because there's nothing that comes out on the first weekend of January 91. So, any movies that I looked over, especially because I know I'm going to look, I've looked over a couple movies, including Awakenings, but blame Box Office Mojo again for that, so that'll be coming up in the episode that follows this one, this next one coming up, I should say, so. But like I said, next time around, we'll look at Come See the Paradise, Alice, Green Card, and Godfather Part 3, so. With that said, thank you guys for watching, and as always, if you want to see more videos like this, check out the previous episode, check out the playlist to see all the episodes for 90, and I'll see you guys tomorrow to wrap up the year. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and until then, take care.